On today's episode, we will be talking about the economic storm that is coming, and are you positioned to take advantage of that storm? Let's get straight into it. Before we talk about are you well positioned for the storm that's coming and are you going to be able to take advantage of that storm, let's talk about why that storm will be coming and possibly when. And we believe that we are already in economic hard times. I'm talking on the news. When you're listening to the news, everything seems to be just fine. I'm going to go here. We're going to talk about several examples of why we believe that we're already in an economic storm. And for the first time in my 30-year investing career, that I've never seen the stock market kind of go down before that storm could really be felt on the street. The stock market is supposed to be a leading indicator. And right now we're doing really, really bad economically on the streets, but the stock market is still reaching new highs. Come down a little bit. Because today is July 23rd, 2024. It's up a little bit. Last week it was down. But the stock market has recently just been hitting all-time highs. And we believe that's because they put so much money out on the street during COVID that there's still people that got that money. But a couple situations of why we believe that an economic storm. First, we want to give a shout out to Big Ward, the genius. You can go to his channel. You may like it, his content. You may not like his content. But one of the things that he talks about a lot is that he's an intermodal truck driver. And he's worked the past 2 days, from what I can tell from his podcast. But for the past 2 weeks, he only worked half a day. Why is that important? Because an intermodal truck driver is a driver that goes to the railhead where the trains come in at. And a lot of the goods come from overseas, going to New York, going to California. I believe he's stationed out of Mobile, Alabama. And so they put the goods mainly coming from overseas, and they put them on the trains, and the trains take them to the nearest station to their final destination. And the intermobile drivers drive it the rest of the way, sometime within, let's say, a 2-hour radius from the mobile station, from the rail station. And he hasn't had to work for 2 weeks. He says there's no loads going out nowhere. So to think about that, there's more than likely very few people manufacturing goods, at least less people manufacturing goods. There's no loads to put on the railhead and put on ships. Those affect jobs. Then there's the intermobile, his part of it. They have very little work. And that means that the stores or who's ever ordering it, going to the warehouse, they're ordering less. And then when it reaches the final destination, they're ordering less. And that means customers are buying less. That means that we are in a real slowdown. To go along with that, I have a longtime friend who had a dedicated route that he drove and he delivered to these stores, from the warehouse to the stores. He did that every day, let's say within a five-hour radius that they would deliver to the stores. They told him 2 or 3 weeks ago, we have no work for you. So he ended up having to go back over the road where he takes loads from one destination to another, and more likely staying the night. Within this 5-hour radius, he was able to come home every night. Now he has to stay out on the road. He has to get the best load that he can get. I mean, if you follow trucking at all, rates have been down really low, like for a while now. They haven't increased in a long time. They haven't been able to flush out enough truckers, which is also jobs lost. So that gives us a good sign. What is the purchasing power of the people, of the consumer, the American consumer out there? And if I had to guess, it's probably going to be felt all around the world. So why isn't that being noticed in the stock market? I mean, you have, the big seven, Meta's in there, Nvidia's in there, Google's in there, Microsoft's in there, Apple's in there. And if you go and if you do a little bit of research on these stocks, some of them, like Meta's earnings, are going to grow pretty. Apple's not growing at all. For a long time in my investment career, Apple had a 10 price to earnings, a PE ratio, the price to the earnings. Right now it's at a 35. And if you go and look over the next couple years, Apple's not going to grow very much where they can grow into that price to earnings at 35. I mean, Apple can get chopped in half. I seen Apple sitting at a 10 PE for like 10 years. So Apple can get chopped in half and the PE is still be around 16, 17. So that's how much, you're talking about a $3 trillion company. I think that's just insanely overvalued. There's a lot of stocks out there that's not overvalued. But if some of these big boys start coming down, it could get real bloody out there because they're the ones that really drove it up. The second one is home prices. Home prices are completely overvalued to include my own home. We talking about since 2020, we're talking about house prices doubled in price. A lot of places, and to include my house, the home price of my house pretty much doubled since 2020. So it's only 2024, and because of that, and what's happening is for a while now, and it's starting to change already. There was very few houses listed. We talking about we had a a um a rate of over 7%. And what the problem is, and why a lot of people aren't listing their house, and why I don't want to list my house, I refinanced my house under COVID. I got an extremely low interest rate, 2.48%. And now people are buying homes that are double the price at 7% rate on their home. So there are not that many homes being sold because there's not that many people listing homes. So the price of homes is staying kind of high. But what I believe is going to happen is when the Federal Reserve start cutting rates, when they really realize just how bad this economy really is, which is going to be too late because they're already too late. As the rate comes down, you're going to start seeing more and more people are going to start listing their homes because they've been stuck in their homes for a long time. You don't want to sell your house that you bought 10 years ago at 50% of the price that it's at now. And you can make double your money probably if you sell your house. But you don't want the problem is that you got to buy a new house that's up and double the price. So you really don't want to go into a new home when you're sitting on a house, that they got a 2.48% interest rate, and you go and buy a new house that's probably doubled in price and that you got to get a 7%. So most people don't want to sell. But as these rates start coming down, and let's say, like me soon, in a couple of years, I may want to downsize. All my kids will be gone. We may have too much of a house, so we may want to downsize. So we may decide that we want to sell our home, maybe if rates start coming down. But there's a lot of people waiting to list their house. A lot of people. And what that means is what's going to happen is as more and more people list their house, like I know a community in Florida, they had 79 homes listed, I believe. Now they're all the way up to 790 homes listed. So, and no one's buying. This is now, it was on CNBC today, it was reported that it is now in a buyer's market. Buyers are waiting. They're not rushing out and trying to buy a home right now. They don't have to. They believe prices are going to come down. More and more people is going to list homes. Like another example on the podcast I was watching today, they over real estate. They had a purchaser. They was a buyer agents. They had someone purchasing a home down in Florida, and before they could get to the loan closing, they noticed that prices had started falling, and there was a house that had 1,000 more square feet cheaper than the house that they was buying in the same neighborhood before they can close. This is going to happen. This is probably going to happen all over America. Home prices are going to be dropping. So that's the second thing. We have a slow economy, a slow consumer, and we believe home prices are going to drop. The last is the stock market, I believe, is in a bubble. This is one of the biggest bubbles. I lived through 2000, which was a bubble, and it just burst. 2008, I can't say that we were really in a bubble, but the stock market crashed due to home prices back then. But this time, I believe we're in a slow economy. The bubble bursting in a house started the recession. This recession is going to start as the Federal Reserve continuously maintain interest rates high to slow down inflation, something's going to break. I don't know when it's going to break. I don't know how it's going to break, but I know it's going to break. So I believe we got slow consumers, we got a housing bubble that's going to bust, and we got a stock market that is going to bust. I use the example of Apple and what a crazy PE it got of 35. That's not growing very much. We got Microsoft, third like a 38 PE. It's growing, but not to justify a 38 PE. Nvidia has a high PE, but they're growing. They're supplying all the chips for AI. So they're growing. So I understand why their market cap, why they're so high, but we're talking they're probably up 1,000% in a year. But we're in a stock market bubble. Now, there's some consumer staple stocks out there, like UPS reported today. Again, it is July 23rd. They reported stock is down like 15% today because they reported bad, or no one's shipping. No one's shipping anything. And then plus, because of inflation, they passed that bad contract with their employees, raising their employees' wages really, really high. So I'm sure they had to go up in packages. And now no one's shipping anything. The price of how much it costs to ship something, but no one's shipping anything. So I believe that's all showing that we're in a really slow economy, and there's people that are really, really hurting out there. So knowing that, well, first, do I think that how bad could this be? I think we could be down 20%, which is a bear market. We could be down that easily. Easily. That's coming easily. We could possibly be down 50%, which was 2008. And one main reason, which I'm going to start beating the drum about, if you notice the shift last week from the Russell 2000 rising up by like 11%, and the mega stocks going down. I want to say Meta went from 540 to like 260. I mean to 460 for no reason at all. And the reason was ETFs. ETFs dominate the market today. And if we have fear and ETF is mainly just a tracker stop, the most popular being SPY, which tracks the S&P 500. If we start having people selling these ETFs, the computers are going to start selling stocks because they have to sell stocks in the positions that they hold in the S&P 500. And I can believe that could cause real panic on the street, which could possibly take us down over 50%. So what should we be doing right now to make sure that we're ready for this downturn? What I'm doing right now is I've never been 90-10. 90% bonds, 10% stocks, never been. And then a portion of that 90% bonds, I may even go to 100%. I may even go to, because I don't believe there's very many returns left in the stock market at this time. And I am preparing. I've never been prepared. Well, I wasn't prepared in 2000. I actually lost. I had to learn. That was my real learning lesson right there. I was somewhat prepared. I think I was 66% stock, 33% bonds during the 2008, 2009 crash. I was ready. I took advantage of it. It was really good for me. But this time I am going to be ready. I'm talking about really ready. I believe this might be the worst downturn we've ever had. And I am going to be ready to position myself. This is probably going to be the last time I'm ever going to have to be able to position myself, or I'm going to need to position myself again. I'm probably either going to be 100% bonds, or I'm going to be 90% bonds, 10% stocks. And I'm already got it and put it in motion as I speak with you. As some of these stocks that I have, if they can, like I have Meta. I wish I would have sold at 540. It's coming back. If I can get anywhere near 540, they report next week. I hope they have a good earnings report, and I'm going to sell. I'm selling my Google. I'm selling my Amazon. I'm selling my BlackRock. I'm going to have majority of my positions. Only position I might keep is AT&T. I don't believe anyone's going to give up their cell phone. The stock hasn't done anything in 3 or 4 years, and they pay a really, really good dividend, almost a 6% dividend. So to me, I'm just treating that like a bond. But of the 90% of money I'm going to have going into bonds, I'm going to go 50-50 T-bills and 50-50 10-year yield. The reason I'm going 50% T-bills is they're only for 3 months. And in case an emergency happens or something, because we are going in recession, so the business I have are going to suffer. So in case I have to raise capital for them, put some capital over there, working capital, I'm going to keep those T-bills. And then with the 10-year yield, I believe the panic, we're going to have real panic on the street, and money is going to be going towards bonds. And so, and if you don't know much about bonds, as bond yields rise, the price goes down. As the yield goes down, the price goes up. So if you're in a panic that I believe that we're going to have coming, people are going to be buying bonds. And the price of the bonds are going to rise. The yield is going to come down. T-bills is paying like 5.25% right now. 10-year yield is paying about 4.25% right now. And I believe we're going to see that yield drop. And I'm going to be able to make money off of the 10-year yield movement because people wanting to buy bonds and getting out of stocks. So we're going to take advantage of that. And then we just want as much money on the sideline as possible. And then when the market do completely falls, and it creates an opportunity for us. And when I believe that the stock market is completely undervalued, I'm going to enter back in the stock. I'm going to go back to my favorite stocks. I'm going to start purchasing Meta again. I believe in Meta. I'm going to start purchasing Amazon again. I'm going to purchase BlackRock. I'm going to purchase UPS. They're already down. They're down from, like I said, they're down like 15 points today, down 15%. They're down, well, like they're down from like 144 to like 125 today. And in this economic downturn, and like I said, we're already in the economic downturn. It's just not being recognized in the stock market. And if it's not being recognized in the stock market, it doesn't really affect the people that have all the money. I'd say it's 80% of the people in America are suffering, and the top 20%, they're doing well, and they're not affected. But soon here, everybody's going to be affected by this downturn that we're going to have in the stock market. So you have to be ready. And if you don't really want to, not really involved, or you don't really get into it, there's probably going to be a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity to invest in SPY. I know a year ago I was I thought the stock market was overvalued, not to the point that I should sell my stocks, but I thought the stock market was overvalued. I did sell some stocks, but I kept my main holdings. And we're talking about the S&P was probably at like 4,600. Yeah, 4,600. The S&P almost touched 6,000. It's just market is just crazy, and it's going to be bloody. It's going to be bloody on the way down. And you can't put, so if we got an $8 trillion economy, you can't put a $1 trillion, $2 trillion a year, every year for 3 or 4 years, and then take that money away and not think it's going to be really bad. But we just can't keep borrowing and having a fake economy, stimulating the economy from borrowed money. Of course, you're going to be doing well. So if you don't want to keep up with the stock market that much, like I said, it'd be one of the best opportunities you're going to have to invest in the SPY, just the tracking stock of the S&P. So I hope this information helped you. If you liked it, please subscribe. Thank you for listening, and good luck investing.